Good morning everyone, how are you all today? I hope you're all feeling absolutely marvellous. I'm bouncing off the walls today and being showered by my onions. I'm just going to tell you really quickly because I'm so excited. I do physio at home every day, pretty much every day, for about an hour. 40 minutes on the treadmill, 20 minutes of resistance work, and then once a month I go up to the hospital and I have a session with my physiotherapist, which I've had this morning, and she says the strength improvement is remarkable, it's all looking great, and at this rate she reckons I'm going to sail through surgery, so yay, come on. It's really quite a commitment, but obviously worth it. If you're wondering what that noise is in the background, look at that. I can't even spend 2 minutes in the shed without being mugged by the cats. I don't mind really, he's gorgeous. So I've got loads to do today, and we are definitely that time of year when half of the time is garden, but the other half has got to be the kitchen because there's just so much coming out of the garden now. So a lot of today is actually going to be about sort of tidying and maintenance, because I haven't been here much, and in the last 2 weeks we had basically a week of really high winds followed by a week of lashing rains that have done some damage. So yes, today's about a bit of maintenance, but we'll see what's going on as I go around the garden. But in the meantime, I'll show you this now and then explain what happened by going outside. Let me just stand up and show you. So that's a trug of runner beans, and this is the basket of necker with, I think, a few gigantes got mixed in. Yeah, there's the gigantes. So normally these would be drying on the vine or drying on the plants. They're all for drying. But oh no, the weather had different ideas. So let me go and show you what, well, I'm not going to show you what the weather did because I removed it. But oh, look how bright it is. Isn't it gorgeous? Sunshine after 2 weeks of wind and rain feels even more special than sunshine after days and days of sunshine. Anyway, stop yakking, Vivi, get down the garden. I'm just buzzing today. Isn't it wonderful when things just go okay? So just coming towards the bean bed. Now this whole bed for me is a drying bed. So let's turn you guys around and you will see what happened. Look, empty space where 2 rows were. So what happened was the wind had started to slant them. Actually, you can see from the sunflower still, look at that jaunty angle. The canes are really, really old canes, but I just didn't want to buy new ones, though it just goes to show, doesn't it? But then with the lashing rain, what happened is it completely flattened them so that they were actually, oh, look at the debris, they were right on top of the squash. That was one thing, I didn't want to lose the squash, but also where they were on the floor and really quite wet, some of them were starting to rot, get nibbled by snails and slugs. So I've taken them all down. Even as I was taking them down, the canes were cracking and splintering into so many pieces. So what they should have been doing is, we get a clear view now of the helder. So you see how everything's starting to turn a bit yellow, a bit pale. This will go on for another few weeks. Let me show you. They're still quite fleshy, but can you hear that? They're starting to rattle inside the pods. So I will show you this properly when the time comes, but this is what I do with, well, what I would have done with all my beans if the weather hadn't happened. But what I do with all my beans is I just leave them on the plants, let them dry out as much as possible on the plants, then have them away, have them indoors and just finish off drying them. But like I say, I'll show you that when the time comes. Another reason for having these beans out was because I was desperate to try to rescue the pumpkin underneath. Did I see a fruit? Ah, there we go. See, this is one of the Long Island cheese. that I'm trying for the first time. I think it's called Long Island cheese. So I was a bit worried with the beans flopping everywhere as well that they'd smother this. And I didn't want that to happen. But just while we're in the beans, I'm going to bring you round, gosh, if I can, coming through the jungle. Oh, crack, crunch, crack, crunch. Just wanted to show you. See, a couple of weeks ago I said they'd start to brazen up with their colour. Bellotti's looking gorgeous. I mean, wouldn't you grow it just for that colour? Beautiful. Now what I want to find, it's tucked right in here, is one of the gigantes. So what seems to be happening, I've got a mouthful of sunflower leaf, and other folk have said this too, is that you get these fairly short pods with only 1, 2, 3 beans, but look how fat they're getting. They really are gigantes. I can't wait to eat them. Patience, Vivi. We have to wait until October. Okay, so all of those beans in the shed will be coming home with me. I brought my rucksack especially so that I can pod them and store them. I'll show you that in another video. Now the cuke bed has pretty much come to an end. I've had, what was the last count up? 51 cucumbers. Extraordinary. There are about 3 or 4 hanging in there today, which I'm going to harvest. But then right on the end, there's one tucked in. I'm going to save that whole plant on the end and leave that cuke on the vine to just go over and then harvest the seed from it. Yay! Right. It's time to get a bit busy. Another job I need to do today. Whoopla. Oh, squash. Sunflowers are taking over. Is I need to cut the grass. After all this rain, it's like a shag carpet. So I'll do that shortly, but for now I'm going to start in the cucumber bed. There you are, and here I am in the cukes. So one of the reasons I want to take them down today, they're obviously past their best, but I also want to get rid of them to just let some more sun onto the tomatoes, because I'm getting really, really nervous about blight now because of the weather, because all around the country I'm hearing about people having to get rid of their entire crops, which is, like I said in another video, it's heartbreaking. So I'm literally just going to harvest the last of what's left. Oh, if I can find them all. Varying shapes and sizes. Can you hear me, Mother? Now, like I was saying, I've had 51 altogether. And considering these are there's 12 plants, 6 were sown first, and then I sowed another 6 because nothing was happening with the first lot. Sown 4 weeks apart, but they all matured at the same time. I have not yet worked out a way to do cukes successionally. They just come when they want to. What else? Oh my goodness, so many! Oh, little tiddlers. Let's have them out. Oh my giddy goodness. I'm going to be looking up cute recipes. Oh, it's been lovely though. I've been able to give away loads without it impacting on my eating. And I can't think of another joy greater than sharing your produce with folk. Here's another one. Oh. And another. Okay, so just show you these babies. Oh, I needed a big basket. Oh, caramba. Oh, they're going to go flying. It's really tricky in here at the minute. Let me see if I can show these to you. Can you see that? There's another one. I've actually just spotted another two amongst them. I don't really like pickles, so without pickling there's not really an easy way to store them. But over the next couple of days I'll have loads in salad. But as I've said a couple of times before, I love it in my morning smoothie, especially, you know, in the hotter weather. It's so refreshing. So I'm going to be having quite a few smoothies, I think. What a happy sight. Actually, another good reason for removing them is to let even more light get to the peppers. I did, as they were growing, just keep trimming the foliage away from the peppers to give them a chance. Now, what I don't want to do in taking these out is disturb the roots of the peppers. So I'm literally just going to snip each plant at the base and have it out that way. It's going to take me a while, isn't it? And one thing I promised myself this year, rather than just lobbing everything into the compost bin willy-nilly, I'm going to chop things down finer so that I make my compost a bit more quickly, and maybe even have some ready for autumn. I doubt it, but we'll see. This is going to take me a while to untangle, so why don't you come back in a minute after a cup of tea. Well, I'm nearly there. Just extricating these last few bits really carefully because I don't want to disturb the one that I'm keeping for seed. I haven't actually kept my own cucumber seed before, so I've asked around, and apparently the best way is to leave it on the plant, to get thoroughly ripe and even start going over. And I suppose that makes sense because in nature the seed will be produced in the fruit, and then once the fruit's really ripe it will drop onto the soil and do its thing. So this, I don't know if you can see it actually, the one I'm saving is just tucked in here, so I don't think I'll take much more off. And because the whole frame is built sort of together, I'm going to leave the frame up as well because it's not really in the way. Let me actually bring you round and show you now. Oopla. I don't know where the sun's gone. It's absolutely glaring. So that's the one I'm planning to save. Look how it's snuggled in there. So generally speaking, when you're saving seed, what you want to be doing is identifying your sort of strongest, healthiest plant, and they seem to do really well on this end. So that's my one for saving. And now you can see there's loads more space around the peppers for them to get more light for ripening, and more importantly, loads more light for the tomatoes, so that hopefully we can get those ripening as well before the inevitable happens and I have to take them all out because of blight. Right, to the compost heap. Wowee! Today is just turning into an absolutely gorgeous day. Really unexpected. I'm loving it. I'd actually love to stay here all day, but those beans are not going to pod themselves and freeze themselves, so it's a really quick visit today. Probably it's getting to the stage of year where I maybe have a couple of hours in the garden and then 4 or 5 hours in the kitchen. So my grass, oops, I'm losing my shears. My grass paths. Yes, there is some maintenance involved, but really very little, all things considered. And you know, I wouldn't give up my grass paths for all the world and be putting plastic down and goodness knows what else, because for me the paths continue to be a living environment, and that's so important to me. There are days when it's so quiet down here, I'm sitting on the pot and the ground feeding birds come down, and it's the most beautiful thing to see them hopping along my paths, pecking as they go. So the grass paths are here to stay. In terms of maintenance, probably in the height of summer I maybe trim about maybe once every 3 weeks. It's 2 weeks since I've done it, and the reason I'm doing it today is because after all that rain, the grass has gone bonkers. So you could also say, well, why don't I leave it? Firstly, the longer the grass gets, the more easily I trip on it. I'm so dyspraxic anyway, I'll trip over a marble tile. But also on the edges, yes, I'm a neat freak and I like my nice straight lines, but where that grass is overhanging, I've spent so much time to get rid of the grass in the beds. I don't want it creeping back in, so I keep my edges sharp. But also, I don't want a space underneath that overhanging grass for the slugs and snails, because they love it in those places. So anything to thwart the slugs and snails. Sorry. So I have a battery operated strimmer. I chose a battery rather than petrol because I really don't like to use petrol. And I know some of you are probably thinking, oh yes, but electricity. So the first thing to say is I get all of my electricity from a company it's all sourced from renewable sources. That's a mouthful. So all of my electricity is either solar, tidal, or wind powered. So the battery takes an hour to charge, and it's about enough to let me whip around the whole of my plot and the outside of the shed if the grass isn't too long. On days like today when it's a bit longer, I'll probably only get the paths done and not the shed. That's fine. What's the make? Mac Alistair. I didn't have a clue when I bought it. So it's about 3 years old now. It was, I believe, about £70 at the time, which seemed like quite a lot of money to spend, but actually it's well worth it because it's lasting me well. It's really, really lightweight, so in terms of taking it to and from the allotment, it's really not an issue. And then if you remember last year when I had my hands in casts, it's so light that even with my hands in the cast I was able to do it a little bit. So that's the strimmer. Obviously there's all sorts of makes out there, all sorts of price ranges, but I think it's just a really useful tool to have on the plot. And then my other little tool is, couldn't be more simple, can you see those? My edging shears, which according to the faded label, I got them in Homebase. I don't know if they still do them, but again it was kind of mid price range, towards the bottom of the price range. And all I do after I've used them, I clean the blades, and then I just give the blades a spray with oil every now and again, just to keep them clipping nicely and keep all the nuts and bolts working smoothly. It's time to go and strim. Although with this beautiful sunshine, I kind of feel like just sitting here. And actually, I found even more cucumbers. I've got so many. So maybe I should just sit here and nibble a cucumber. No, time's getting on. Come on, let's go strim. So I'm just about done. Tiny little bit more trimming to do around where the compost bins are, but for now, for today, that will do. I need to get my gorgeous beans home and get podding them, which, whilst they're still green, will take considerably longer than if they were dry. I'm going to do a little tiny bit more harvesting. I think I'll take some more tomatoes, carrots, bits and pieces. I'm so happy today. So far, now on that supremely happy note, I shall say cheerio, happy harvesting, happy ripening of your tomatoes. I haven't had a drop to drink, I can promise you. It's only 11 o'clock in the morning. Actually, it's now 12 o'clock. I'm rambling, Vivi, stop it. It's been so nice to catch up with you all today. I hope I see you all again really soon. Take care.